Hi guys, it's your girl Tanaka. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Tanaka. I'm currently a third year interior design student at Louisiana State University. So today's video is basically gonna be a recap of my junior year, which is the year I'm in right now. It's gonna be a recap of my fall semester. I just ended it about like 3 weeks ago. It's currently January 5th. So if you're watching this in January, Happy New Year. It was a very good beneficial year, and I basically wanted to recap everything that I did that semester and show you guys the projects that I worked on in terms of my studio class. And studio classes are basically our class that is solely focused on just doing interior design, like from start to finish, given a floor plan, given a design brief, and then from there we create the space. So the first project I'm going to be talking about is an Ulta project that we did, and then the second one is going to be we created an office. And disclaimer, I just wanted to say both of these projects were actually international competitions, so students or designers worldwide were actually working on the same project that I was doing, but of course everybody had produced something different because not all designers think the same. So now we're gonna get into the good stuff, and I'm gonna show you guys my projects that I've been working on last semester. Ulta and this organization called Pave Global wanted to present a design competition for students to upgrade their current layout of Ulta to better target Gen Z. So that was the first part, and then the second part was we had to do Precedent research. So we basically did 3 Precedent studies on different retail stores. It could have been any retail store, clothing, shoe, accessory, makeup, and basically study how they did their store and what I felt like was beneficial and what worked for that store in terms of customer flow, customer experience, how I felt like they did a good job on what they did, so that when I create my new Ulta design, I have that in the back of my mind of seeing what worked for other stores.
So for our Precedent studies, we had to choose 3 retail stores, and I chose Ulta. The first one was actually supposed to be Ulta, and then the second one was Sephora, and then the third one was one I found on Arc Daily, which is a great resource for any interior designer that would love to have inspiration on other projects. And basically Precedent studies go into in-depth analysis about that store, so you understand the history of that place, the client users, the purpose and goals, and then you actually go into a quantitative analysis that really goes into in-depth research onto a floor plan and how their layout works in that space. And then for a qualitative analysis, you'll study the furniture and fixture design, spatial conditions, daylight and lighting design within that store, their color scheme, their program hierarchy, and then sensory characteristics. And then after you do all those researchings, you put it all into one summary of findings to conclude what you learned about that space.
Yeah, and then after we did our Precedent, we now needed to create our mood board. So after doing your research, after understanding the design brief, I needed to now create a mood board. And that basically was going to tell the viewer or give the viewer a general census of what my store underlying goal was.
So my mood board / vision board was basically just a visual display of words and pictures that I thought Ulta was missing. And those words, as you can see, include joy, inclusivity, clear paths, ceiling wayfinding, floor wayfinding, calmness, exploration, organization, and cohesiveness. Those are the words that I felt Ulta was missing when I walked into their store. So my mood board / concept board pictures that to somebody about how I want them to feel when they walk into that space and what I want them to explore.
It was time to do the tedious and fun stuff, which was now work on your floor plan layout. So Ulta gave us their floor plan in their design brief, and basically we had complete control on what we wanted to do. We could create a whole new store, or we could focus on subsections within the store that we felt like needed more attention, or you could have took a more abstract approach or a more realistic approach.
When you start off with bubble diagrams, you basically, without putting square footage onto your space, you start to figure out how you want to space plan without having that factor into it. And it kind of starts off with your conceptual work, and then you move on to your bubble diagram, which should further enhance what you want a user to feel within your space. And then once you're done with your bubble diagram and you're pretty confident with how that looks, I then now move into my blocking diagram, and that now takes my bubble and just put it into a more realistic standpoint in terms of square footage and really seeing how your space would look size wise. So for an example, a bigger square might represent 300 square feet, and then a smaller square would represent that 100 square feet. So it kind of puts it into a more realistic standpoint, and you can really see how your space is going to flow given the floor plan.
So then after doing the floor plan, now it's time to bring it to life and start to now actually make it into a 3D space. The software that I use for my 3D renders and 3D realistic stuff is Revit. That's the fun part. After doing all your research, after doing all your planning, and trying to think about how, because I always have an idea of what it's going to look like, and then when I finally put it into Revit, it just brings it to life, and it's really a great feeling when you execute a plan that you've been thinking about so long. And then after you have your renderings, you create your presentation. And I will say, creating your presentation is definitely another hard part of it all, because not only do you have to create something and it's so much in your mind and what you're thinking conceptually, you know what your goal is when you're creating this, but if you cannot have a solid presentation layout board to express what you're thinking without having to talk just based off your presentation, that requires some definite, you need to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to do that. So next, moving on to my second project of the semester, my second and final project of the semester. So this one was definitely a lot. I think this one really challenged me in terms of knowing what I can do as a designer, because girl, the process basically for me was the same thing as the Ulta stuff. It's just this one was on a wider scope. This had a whole brief, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly what that was. So as you can see, it was a very hefty brief, but a very realistic brief in terms of this is what people ask for when you're actually working on a project, real time, real world, real scenario. So this was kind of my first time really working on a project to that degree where everything was given to me in terms of what they wanted. I just had to execute it and make sure I put the correct stuff where it needed to be. With this one, I basically do the whole scenario exactly what I did with the Ulta project, which is to basically start off with research.
So to basically talk a little bit more about the objective of this challenge, so the company that was doing this challenge was Steelcase, and they titled the design competition Steelcase Next. Steelcase is a furniture company that sells a multiple of different furniture pieces, lighting pieces, accent pieces, and they made up an office called Next, and we were basically supposed to read that brief, and it entailed everything that we needed to know about that office, about that space, about the employees, about what the employees do. And with that, we needed to create design solutions using their furniture to accommodate what they wanted. So this office was located in Chicago, and my main objective was to basically use the city's history and bring it inside the office. And I tried to do that through the use of materials. And then in terms of the actual community of the office, I wanted it to be more focused on collaborative nature, working in teams, and then having a upright space that can balance out, work life, and then also having an intermediate between the two where you can sit at your desk and then you have subzones within the workplace that allowed for the user to not only be tied to that one area. And that was the main objective for when I was designing this office. And naturally, because Chicago has its own materials like wood, brick, steel, concrete, those are Chicago based materials, I wanted to use that primarily in the office, and that kind of set the tone for everything else. It just basically came to life just by me using those materials. And then I just had to work with putting the Steelcase furniture and figuring out Steelcase solutions that can bring my idea into life.
I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys learned some things, and hopefully that helped you guys, whether it be you're trying to understand if you want to go into this field, whether you're already in this field and just trying to get some inspiration and just see, you know, learn from other interior designers or upcoming interior designer students. So I hope this was beneficial, and if you guys would love to see more content in terms of interior design and more tips, please be sure to subscribe. And if you guys have any recommendations of what you guys would love for me to do or show you guys, whether that be software tips, whether that just be design tips or anything design related, please be sure to leave a comment and just let me know what you guys would love to see, and I'll be more than willing to show you guys those things. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.